Hey Titans, what's going on? Op2Rules here, and today it's game number 3, our third White Star battle, this time with what we're calling the B team because we ran this in tandem with game number 2. And so what happened was we had a lot of new players join the corporation. We had just won our first White Star, and we made two teams with the veteran players divided between them in an effort to try to play out as many of us as possible, get the new players going, and see who plays well, who doesn't, who makes the cut for the A team. But in this case, both teams were evenly balanced, and we're going up against Challenger Corp here. And Challenger Corp has much higher level players than in our first game, right? So this is much more intimidating. 6 of them have distinctions, 3 with White Star Master, so they've got a 4-win streak that we can tell from that. They've won 9 games, which isn't an enormous amount, but when you've only won 1, it is quite a bit. And they also have this level 383 Fish Brains guy, who well, a high level player in and of itself doesn't necessarily pose a problem, but what can happen is that they're able to collect artifacts from red stars and then distribute them amongst the other players so they can unlock things like Dispatch and Relic Drone, which makes them much more effective. And if that's what's happened here, then we're in for some trouble. Anyways, let's get started. So we'll run through the preparation phase, but just a little bit about player count. We have 8 and they have 8 for most of this game. One player joins us later on. I think they have someone that joins in a little bit later, but by and large, it's very nicely balanced with, the gaps being pretty similar on both sides. They have a flagship. We also have a flagship here too. And also right in the beginning, just like in the game number 2, we see all of these rockets being fired off right at their starting positions. Kind of funny to see it happen in both cases. Unfortunately, there's really no anticipation going on. The rockets are completely overpowered by some well-placed mass batteries. And, there's really just nothing that you can hope for to have happen here. But anyways, moving forward, you can see we start off quite spread out, right? Independent Titans go about their own way. On their side, it looks like they had eyeballed this planet here on the J3 sector, this level 10 in particular. But what starts to happen is we have this kind of like counter effort here while our support ships stay in the back and do what support ships do. But at some point here, they make a diversion and try to come and do a little bit of damage up here, I guess. Maybe part of what you could think of as happening is that this transport is way forward and it doesn't have anything behind it, which means that it kind of acts as a lure. But this is what Darrow wants, I assume, because he's got a level 9 Impulse Shield. Impulse Shield at level 9 will do 7.2 thousand damage per hour, which will pretty much demolish anything in its way, assuming they don't have barriers and stuff like that. But also, he's equipped it with a hunter build using mass battery and rocket drone. So you're going to see later, there's some of the most incredible plays I've ever seen done by Darrow in this game. On the other hand, now moving downstairs, we have 4 of the enemy battleships here and 3 of ours all converging on this planet. And this is looking pretty intimidating because they've got a great balance here. They've got a dual laser with Destiny, EMP, repair drones, decoy drones, weapon amplifier. That's a rough combination to go against what effectively is like a very low level player with just Alpha Shield. We've got QFenMP who has dual laser. Dual laser is good, but you need 2 opponents for it to really be effective. And Cloudless Jury here, who actually is going to be AFK from this point onwards. So it's already going to be an interesting battle, looking quite difficult. But you're going to see this is going to be amazing. The tandem here and teamwork between QFenom and Captain Barnacles is pretty incredible. Okay, so we'll roll this through a little bit faster and we'll jump in. Let's start on this side here. So what's happening is Darrow has used his Impulse Shield, and people have lives, right? This is a game, so you program things in Time Machine and stuff happens. And one of those things that the enemy did was they probably programmed EMP, because normally when someone's coming at your face with Impulse Shield, what you want to do is EMP them. Now, the way this works is EMP has a range of 100, and Impulse Shield has... Impulse Shield has a range... It's called the Impulse range. It has a range of 80. And you can kind of just eyeball it, right? You can see here, like, there's the impulse circle. And if we look at the EMP circle, it's like a little bit bigger. But anyways, the whole idea is that you stop yourself from getting hit by this. But instead, what actually ends up happening is that, well, you'll see. Down here, what's the case is that little Captain Barnacles is going on in over here, and QFenMP is in the back. And this turns out to be the perfect setup that could possibly have happened here, and we're about to find out why. So let's play this through. You can see that EMP fired off, and it hit the Colossus so that they could clear it, but Darrow's off scot-free. So he goes in and rains terror on these guys while he just waits for the right time to fire off Destiny. Meanwhile, over here, I want to talk a little bit about how this strategy is playing out. So BTS Bushido's in the back, and his role is to play more of a rear defense. A little bit about BTS Bushido, he doesn't typically play in White Stars, but we made a special request to him to come in on this one. But what he did was quite actually not recommended when you're in a White Star, is that he didn't use waypoints. So this means that like he can't change his course unless he uses teleport. The problem is that, like, you know, right now maybe that looks like a good idea, but later this ends up being really, you know, 8 hours later, though the board's not the same as it is in the beginning, and we're going to find out just how that plays out. But over here, you can see they're anticipating quite a bit of damage coming in, so that's where this repair drone has already been deployed, probably to act as like a decoy. You can try to use repair as a decoy. Things will not auto-target repair drones, but if they take damage, then all the better. Otherwise, if you're taking damage, you're going to want the repair drone to take damage after. So it can be a good idea to deploy it, but in my experience, what happens when you deploy it while you're already in motion is that the battleship will get targeted basically every single time. So that's what I'm assuming is going to happen here. But let's play it forward and see what happens. Okay, you can see here now Captain Barnacles. It looks like this is too messy. I can't even see what's happening. I guess I guess Olaf is being targeted here. Yes, he's already lost some shield strength, so maybe we can, well, who cares? Anyways, that's probably what's going on there. And then over here, Darrow has conveniently set up his Destiny, which has 4 ships coming on in, as well as the Colossus. So let's run this through. Once again, right, just to circle back to what we talked about earlier, you know, Olaf had used his repair drone, but look, his shields are taking damage, right? It doesn't really matter. It's a level 2 laser doing 324 DPH. Not much that's going to come out of that, but, you know, still pretty interesting. So from here, he's decided to use EMP and Alpha. He's a new player at this point, so I would have recommended waiting to do maybe EMP and then Alpha. But it's okay because still Alpha will last for 2 hours, which is plenty of time to tank a lot of damage. Also, the reason I would recommend waiting for Alpha is because after these lasers power up, they do a lot more damage. But nonetheless, you're going to see, even though this isn't a perfect situation, it ends up being the perfect tandem because now they're all targeting Captain Barnacles and he's got Alpha up. So no problem, right? They're going to be there chilling. And at the same time, we have Darrow over here, who, God bless, has got their flagship coming on in. This guy, DLL Dark Kenobi or something, coming on in full. But then also, they've been getting mass batteried the whole time. So, yes, he's taking in like 5k DPH here and another 3.6k DPH here. But little do they know what's about to come. Because this Destiny does 1k damage per level. Let me just pop that open here so you can see. So they're about to get hit with 7k. So it's like 7k on each of these guys. And when this happens, many of them get destroyed. But over here now, you can also see that QFenMP's dual laser is already at stage 2. And let's actually open up the specs for that. I think it's probably pretty interesting to see here. Are we able to look at what the... how long it takes to get from stage 1 to 2, attack range, damage per hour. I'm not sure, right? It seems to climb up really fast. Anyways, we're just going to play this through, right? So watch this. Boom, 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 and pop them off. Now we're left with Rookie with 50 hit points. What's he going to do? And this DLL Dark Kenobi or something like that. But now check out Darrow, right? So yes, he's EMP'd. But we've got transport, miner, all chilling here. And this guy, who, his name's a Happy Face or something like that, but he's teleporting in 42 minutes, which means all of this is unprotected. In the meantime, here, we've got Captain Barnacle's Alpha Shield still running, right? So, even though you're a low-level player, you've been probably taking a lot of damage and heat and EMP'd and stuff. Look at these guys. They're hitting him with 4.8k DPH, 4.4k DPH, 900, but it doesn't matter. QFenMP's hitting them with 4.4 himself, but it's dual laser, so it's just as effective, if not more. Let's roll this through. As expected, QFenMP destroys both of those other guys. But now herein lies the problem with dual laser, right? You need 2 opponents or it doesn't ramp up. So he's back down to 540 DPH, and it doesn't look like it's going to do much against Sandfort. With single laser, this is a bad situation to be in. But what he does is he picks him up and carries him over to Mr. AFK Cloudless Jury over here. So even though he's AFK, he said this was analogous to picking up your dead teammate's gun and killing the enemy with it after you run out of ammo. And that's kind of funny. In the meantime, Darrow's over here, looking like he's going to be about to pick off maybe several support ships. It's always dangerous when you go near the enemy jump gate. These guys can just jump out if they're clever. Let's play it through and see what happens. Boom, jumped out. But he was able to kill their miner, and now Olaf BR Gamer's transport is in range. He does have stealth, so it's probably not going to work. But on the other hand, now we can start to see here that this cloudless laser is ramping up, and BTS Bushido did have to use teleport in effect, I guess, to try to intercept Burt Nasty. I'm not sure how he ended up here. It's going to be very ineffective, but we'll play this through. Okay, so QFenMP died, but once, laser retargets, it's yeah, I mean, it starts back at 0. Now, what this player should have done is use decoy drone, because what you can see here is that, it's a fully charged laser. So if you use decoy, the laser resets to stage 1. It has to kill the decoy, and then it comes back here. But for some reason, I guess maybe he was confused from the bond or AFK or something. I'm not sure, but he just gets obliterated as expected. In the meantime, Darrow, I love this. It's so good. Like, level 1 missile drone. But what's it going to do? This rocket is going straight for this transport here. Olaf Gamer, boom, popped off the map. Let's go. Moving forward, once again, another rocket. Where's it going? Killing another transport. This is just too funny to me. In this game, let me look at my data here. In this game, Darrow kills 9 support ships. QFenMP also ends up killing 3 of them, and those are the only support ships that are killed this whole match. So this is really effective damage and carnage being done on their sides. Unfortunately, because of the weak defense line, Burt Nasty's made his way forward. He's got Impulse, he's got Mass Battery. He's not fully equipped as a hunter, right? Typically, you don't put these types of mods on a hunter. You want to be more like Darrow with, rocket drone, I would say, and yeah, things like maybe Barrier and Destiny. But anyways, he's doing his best. That transport gets popped off. And now we see Drab Psychic coming in. Now that their forces have been weakened after what's happened, the tides are starting to shift a little bit. Looks like Titans are in the lead now. Darrow comes back, circling around. His Impulse Shield's going to be back up in 2 hours. And for some reason, the flagship is here. I'm not sure how this happened. I would recommend not moving the flagship so close to the enemy, because what makes the flagship effective is that you're able to use recoil. I guess this flagship isn't high enough level yet for recoil, so maybe it doesn't really matter, but having only a few hit points is just never really going to do a whole lot. So anyways, whatever. This transport here, Cloudless AFK, right? Unfortunate. But check this out. This is more interesting. We're going to watch Darrow now. His Impulse Shield's going to come up, and the damage continues. He's still hurting them after all of this. Boom, kills a miner, and that sounds wrong. Kills a miner. Someone's going to totally cut that and sue me or something. But anyways, and then he still does damage to these guys as well, right? So he's moving on forward, and, they got repair drone, whatever. But what are they left with? Look at this. 780 hit points. Yes, Darrow's almost dead too, but I mean, after the whole circle, it's just, it keeps on going and going. The flagship kills that miner. It was loaded with hydrogen as well. That is hilarious. Not very often you see a flagship used this way, by just waltzing it forward, right? Typically that's what the recoil is for, but I guess that was the whole point of bringing in the flagship, so that's pretty cool. That gets a support kill there. Meanwhile, Burt Nasty's looking pretty intimidating at the back here. Anyways, Drab is surrounded now. He's got a lot of firepower going up against him. It's not looking too good. You know, these mods are not going to be super effective, but Solitude is really nice to see anyways. The way it works is you get this fat damage increase when you don't have friendly ships there. So even though there's multiple enemy ships, you still keep the Solitude benefit and are able to do some pretty good damage. So, you know, I think he's just in over his head here, right? Like these guys got EMP and stuff. I think, what is that? Like, oh, it's a, yeah, okay. It's not too crazy. Darrow comes in for the assist. Finishes off Mr. Happy Face over here. And classic QFen and Pete drunk driving the flagship right into the enemy. I mean, it is what it is, guys. You gotta have fun when you play this game. Meanwhile, QFen and Pete respawns. This is smart because he has Impulse Shield ready to tackle Burt Nasty before he can do any more damage. And in the meantime, Cloudless Jury is trying to move on forward as well. I mean, at this point, we're feeling really confident. But keep in mind, it's 2 days, 10 hours, and not a single point has been scored up till here. This is kind of ridiculous. We've got relics being created. Look at this. There's 2 relics here. We've got, we just saw here 3 relics being created. It looks like we're finally starting to be able to score points, but so are they. So this is really tight. Every little point you can get is going to matter so much this match. Once again, Burt Nasty getting surrounded. They're pulling in relics. Cloudless Jury moving forward, trying to do some damage. However, once again, though, I gotta say, it's always dangerous when you go near the enemy jump gate. They can do anything. They can pop out, heal, come back in, switch mods up. Like, you're at a huge disadvantage going up against their jump gate. You're always going to lose if they're paying attention. Burt Nasty, on the other hand, though, is finally getting circled by these guys here. And you can see a couple new things have happened on the map. So a Delta rocket has been fired a moment ago by Mr. Light Racer over here. And if you look at Delta rocket, you know, 1,000 explosion damage, that's not too much, right? It's not nothing, but what really makes what really makes Delta Rocket devastating is that the owner can optionally set a second waypoint after launch. And this is ridiculous because you can see here it looks like it's going for the asteroid, but it's actually not. They're going to set another waypoint and obviously put it up here where our precious relics are being pulled in from. Now, if Drab Psychic is paying attention, he will collect this relic and move. Actually, he already did. Look, this transport's already in motion to the jump gate, right? And that's smart because he knows this Delta rocket as well as actually Olaf are going to come in and demolish them. Relic Drone, on the other hand, is at a disadvantage. You can't control the drone, so it's just going to load relics until it gets blown up. Not very good. However, remember Darrow's transport that was aggressively moving forward? Well, in 3 hours, Dispatch is going to be activated down here, further disrupting their ability to operate on support. I'm not sure if it's enough time to actually kill the relic one here, but it does cripple them a little bit. Okay, so Burt Nasty's moving forward. Looks like after he's made his decision now, it's safe to move in transports and do what we do. You can see the Delta rocket obviously targeting what's going on, but dispatch happens in time. Unlucky for them. Sucks to suck, man. On the other hand, 18 minutes for this and 19 minutes for this. I guess their relic drone's getting popped. Let's play it through. Boom! Darrow takes out the relic drone again. Darrow takes out the relic holding transport. We lose our relic drone. We do have Olaf looking a bit beefy here, but his stuff is on cooldown now, and so Bailey will have a pretty good of a chance. I forgot to play what happened here, but obviously Drab just gets his ass kicked because he's too close to the enemy jump gate. Let's play it through. Olaf knows to retreat. For some reason, a Delta rocket got fired. I'm not really sure what the logic was, but sure, why not? Okay, once again, we see somebody using Impulse to try to race up at us. This here, aimed at this here. Moving in. Who put a missile? Oh, Drab. Yeah, nice. Missile drone on to finish off Burt Nasty. So once again, 1 day, 15 hours, not a single point has been scored. It looks like Drab should be able to get that first point in, assuming no funny business happens here. On the other hand, Darrow, you know, let me talk a little bit about Darrow's play here, okay? Because, you know, it might look bad to suicide your transport, right? Ultimately, you know, you want to make points. And if you're suiciding yourself, that's probably not going to work. It certainly doesn't work in chess. But, on the other hand, he picked up the relic. So that means that not only did he kill the transport holding the relic, but now they have to bring more hydrogen to this planet to get the relic and kill it. To take it, stealing a relic is devastating because it takes more hydrogen to produce new relics. So that kind of stabs like a needle into their face by doing that. So yes, he loses the transport, but I think this is super worth it and totally a good idea. Of course, they move their miner, so you know we don't get to actually get that kill in there. But anyways, Burnt Nasty finally should be getting killed, right? I mean, come on, what do we see here? Someone used barrier. The BTS Bushido cleverly uses barrier to stop this impulse from getting through. So the play here was to just get that speed in and rush in before Drab can get his point. When we're 0-0, that would really change a lot going on in this game. But nonetheless, here we are. So let's keep playing it through. Something interesting is going to happen up here, actually. I'm going to talk about it as it happens because it actually turns out kind of funny. But at the same time, yeah, you know, this transport's going to get killed and Bert's finally toast. Okay, right here, something really unusual happens. It's kind of like a bad thing and a good thing at the same time. But we're 1-0. So for the first time, one day in 10 hours, a point gets scored and we take the lead. But this here is Captain Barnacles hiding behind BTS Bushido. So from an external perspective, it looks like there's nothing happening. It looks like the stupidest thing. Why would an empty transport leave a planet with relics to go to the jump gate with no threats? But what happened was there was an internal conflict. You know, once again, right, we got to remember we're real people with lives, right? You know, people got stuff to do and things that happen, and there's dynamics between the players. This isn't like an Olympic sport where everybody's got a clear sense of the time commitment and the goals. What's really going on here is that there was an internal conflict in the team which led to this situation where the transport is leaving the planet, and but actually we have a secret point getting hidden behind there, so it kind of looks pretty funny actually, which could start to turn the tides. However, right, they look like they're clearly going to get 2 points from this transport as well, right? It doesn't appear right obvious now that there's anything we can do about that, which means it's still kind of like anyone's game at this point. Let's run that through. Fast forward, and we can start to see some conflict going on up here, right? So QFenMP and Darrow are about to do something that I think is absolutely beautiful. But first, QFenMP was required to come in this way to protect the everything. But anyways, here, let me slow this down a little bit. So QFenMP's up there. You know, he's got laser this time, so he can go against one-on-one. And it will end up a little bit tight since they're both going to get to stage 3. But it's okay, right? He's got his shields up from Impulse. It's always nice to use them when you have them. We'll fast forward this and start to see what's going to happen. So we're about to score a point, but that means it's going to be 2-2. And you got to wonder, like, how are we going to get more points, right? Well, we have some relics here and some relics here and some relics here and there's some relics here. So at this point it's like, okay, as long as we don't do anything ridiculous, like if we just crunch together, we should be able to win this, right? But what if they can score more points? What are we going to do then? At this point now, Olaf's coming in hot, right? Full guns up, and Darrow's challenging them head on. QFenM just has 256 hit points at this point. It's not a lot. Doesn't look like you can really do a whole lot. We have Drab here who's, goodness, can I select him? Drab here who's picked up a relic, so it looks like we're in pretty good standing. Darrow, I gotta say, it's just so funny. Look at this. He's taken on like a whole team practically by himself. This is going to be beautiful. Except, first off, barrier, right? So, okay. You're going to get back. I'm going to get back to why I said except there in just a second. But this barrier is brilliant because it blocks all of them from being able to move in. Once again, lining up for destiny. There is a problem with this strategy, and I'm going to talk about it as it unfolds. But first, let's play what happens here. So we can see Olaf is chasing Phenom and Darrow, right? He sees the problem that, like, oh, their team can't win now with 17 hours on the clock if they lose their ability to collect more relics, right? It does look like a tie right now, and maybe they will lose. However, let's play it through. QFenM knows he's safe going just like this to miss getting attacked from the other guys that are being hit by barrier, right? But for some reason, for some reason now, you can see Destiny gets triggered a little bit early. Why? Why did Darrow use Destiny early, right? Let me select him. You can see here now, the barrier has an hour 37, and the Destiny will take an hour 36. So, like, that might sound like good timing, but, like, the barrier is way over here and Destiny's here. The reason for this is because he has 2.6k health. And at this particular moment, if he stays alive and is able to tank through this, what will happen is he'll teleport here. And these guys are moving in over to this planet, and they will not be able to protect these support ships because, and this is the most beautiful part of all of this, because right now, QFenMP has made it all the way inside, and he has a barrier. So you know how this game works, right? Once the enemy ships, or once anyone's ships, are set on a course, you can't really change it unless you have, like, teleport and stuff. And by the looks of it, these guys do not have that luxury. So this looks pretty clean now, right? It's looking pretty good. Boom, it's happened. We have Phenom's barriers up now. These guys, but they must be throwing their drinks at the wall with frustration, right? Because it looks like some points may be scored. And it looks like this is really, 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 really important because Darrow, yes, he's on their ass. But for some reason, Drab made a terrible miscalculation here. He thought he was helping the team. You know, we're tied, right? So let's get more points. Let's pick up a relic and go to the jump gate with 12 hours on the clock. 12 hours, Drab. Why did you do this, right? It takes 5 hours to get to this planet. There probably isn't even 7 more to get back here. But picking up a relic takes 6 hours. So from the moment he goes to this planet, I think what happens is you run Time Machine and the white star supernovas like right here, and he is toast. So now we're back to where we were before. We got to bank on more relics coming in because this is not going to happen. And if they get even 1 point, we're toast. Yet this play combination by QFenom and Darrow saves the day. It seals the deal. And you're going to see now that that barrier just stalls them. Of course, Darrow's going to do what Darrow does. But what happened here was that the transport left without picking up the relic completely. He's just going to jump himself out. Effectively the same thing as getting killed. And that's why that played out that way. But anyways, of course, Phenom now, once the barrier comes up, it's too bad he didn't have a Destiny for this, but once the barrier comes up, he's able to rip up with a whole bunch of health, right, with his impulse shield, so he can just have fun and troll at this point, right, and do more damage. But what's actually happening is the match is over, finally, and at the last second, with just a couple hours on the clock, Titans managed to grab a couple more points, correcting from this mistake and winning the game. I don't remember whose transport brought that back in, but on my data here, I can see that the relics brought back were 2 by QFenom and 1 by Drab, 1 by Captain Barnacle. So I imagine that was QFenom that probably brought those 2 in there, since that's the only way that could have happened. Otherwise, that looks like it's pretty much the end of this game. Absolutely hilarious, I have to say. Amazing tag team combo by QFenom and Darrow. I had so much fun, and this was such an incredible win because we won our first game and then we did 2 games together and won both those games, which meant now that we get to level up again as a corporation and just kind of enjoy the process here. But there it is, right? 4-2 against Challenger Corp, and well, we'll see you next time.